Hey, welcome back. Thanks for finding us. We're Iron Revival, and today, one thing we want to cover is based on a question we got, and it's the question of, do I even need a snatch? Grow up. Ever, okay? So that's a pretty good question for a number of reasons, and we're going to kind of hit some of those as we go through this. Roger, without any further ado, what do you think? Does a person ever need to do a kettlebell snatch?
I don't think so, and I really.
Wait a second.
Whoa, what?
I literally just read on the internet today that that's like the mother of all kettlebell exercises, and you're saying you don't even need to do it?
Yeah.
Why did I do 100 today?
I don't know. Apparently, you read too much and believe too much shit you read on the internet.
Hey, look, I'm not gonna go there.
I really like this question because the question it does go. We assume so many things with fitness, especially in the kettlebell world. The snatch is the czar of all, kettlebell lifts or blah, blah, blah. And that's cool. We think it's a great move. We really do. We think it's a great skill. I do it. He does it. Everybody's doing it except for this one person. But I really think it's very valuable to question it. And this was really based on our last video where we were going over the American swing, I think. And the idea, behind that last video was that there's this dead zone of force. So between kind of here and here. And, kind of the question was, well, if the snatch has that dead zone of force, do I really need to do one? And, this person was, tears up my hands. I don't feel good. I'm worried about my back. And I think a lot of kettlebell coaches would take this question and be like, bro, you just got to do it right.
Toughen up, comrade.
And I can see that approach, and there may be some execution changes that we can make to make the move more effective. Maybe we go back and revisit it. But I do think it's a good question. Why am I doing this? And I always think that if you don't want to do something, don't do it. If it's not goal specific, if you don't need to train something, don't train it. I don't like doing get-ups. I mean, I think they're.
Truth be told, that's why we don't do them a lot. No, I'm just kidding.
I think they're a great movement. I think they're a great skill. I can do them just fine. It's just not something I enjoy doing. So I do them, but I don't do them a lot. I need to keep my certifications current. I need to, teach my my students, and I also, learn some lessons doing them. So there's value there. But back to the idea of the snatch. What we really need to look at is if the answer is it depends on what your training goals are, then we need to isolate what a snatch is going to do in order to figure out whether or not you should do them.
That's a really good point. Like, what is this training goal that could be specific to the snatch?
So, let's look at some of the things the snatch does. So when we look at work from just a physics standpoint, there's an element of distance that's covered. So if you were to pick up that 48 kilo kettlebell and hold it here, okay? From a physics standpoint,
do I need to do that?
You can if you want. I don't recommend it.
I don't want
it's fucking heavy. But from a physics standpoint, you're doing zero work because it will require work to get the kettlebell from the ground up to here. But once you're at this point, you're not doing any more work.
It's stopped.
There's no motion. But there is an element outside of that example. There's usually an element of distance covered to figure out how much work you're doing. So if your goal is to do a lot of work in a short amount of time, which is when we get into our power training, then it's hard to beat a snatch because you have so much vertical distance that you're covering with some horizontal as well. If you stick your arm straight out, that's your swing. So you have more horizontal, okay? But that's going to be more than made up for by the vertical. So, the sum of the horizontal and the vertical is going to cover more distance. So if you want to do a lot of work in a short amount of time, if let's say you want to tax, you want to build up your cardiovascular, you really want to push your system to cover a lot of ground in a short period, that's going to be a really effective movement to do that. Now, can you do it other ways? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the only way to go about it. Then we say, okay, well, if we can train the horizontal with the swing, can we swing more than we can snatch? Well, come on, man, you're jumping to the push press. It's like you're in the middle of the movie and you're giving away the ending.
It was
hate mail.
Mrs. White in the library with the lead pipe. Trust me.
So let's go ahead. No, you don't need to do anything. But like, if can you swing more than you can snatch?
Yes.
Okay, I can too. I don't know anyone who can snatch more than they can swing. So if we're covering more, if we're covering that horizontal power production with greater load with the same intensity, then that might be more efficient. Okay, but then we get into vertical. Now we can talk about the push press.
Check me out, y'all.
Okay, or we can talk about the jerk.
I like the
Either
jerk.
way.
In fact, I took the whole month of January off from snatching and just did jerks and swings.
Oh, okay. It's good to know.
My self-esteem was at an all-time low. I'm just kidding. I'm feeling great.
But so we have other ways to get vertical force. But there are some significant differences in the way you generate the force. So if you turn to the side and you show the nice people how you're generating force with the push press or the jerk, you got this big knee drive. Okay, so this is staying mostly vertical here. Okay, it's not this. We're not doing that because that is just not going to work. That's a squat with a press. It's not a push press. It's not a jerk. So we're generating our force, the thing that's moving the kettlebell and making it ballistic, with almost exclusively quad, very little glute. So we're not getting the same power production. If you think of this, you could even think of this as kind of a pull or a push rather. There's a big pushing component of the push press and the jerk. You can consider a big pulling component for the snatch, because even though you're going to get probably some push, and you can get into is the lower body a push or a pull strategy from just what is powering the kettlebell. If you go, I have you turn to the side a lot. You should just stand there. So if we're looking, go ahead and go back at the bottom of your snatch. If we're looking at the thing that powers this, it's the legs. As the legs stand up, pop, okay, the torso is spinning. This is spinning back, that's spinning forward, okay? Now, because the arm's connected to the torso, okay, this point right here, as this spins back, put that arm down, good. It's pulling the bell. This is pulling that, okay? And the push, the push is happening because the arm is connected to the body, but there's also some pulling going on. So there is some pull in the snatch, there's some push in the snatch, there's no pull going on with the push press or the jerk.
Except for maybe on the way down.
Yeah. Now, also if we look at the idea of, the idea that there's this kind of dead space here, the dead space in the American swing is a lot different. If you look at the bell speed, from let's say here to here in the American swing, there's almost nothing going on. It's very, very slow. Yeah. It's very easy to see and analyze. Whereas the snatch, everything's done from here, but you've got this so much explosion that you're popping straight up there. Okay, that you can barely see what's going on in that phase, which is why people have a hard time. Like, where does this, like this hook grip, the change, like where does that happen? Because you can't see it.
It just happens magically.
So when we start looking at pushing and pulling, when we start looking at where we're generating force, do you need to do a snatch? No, if it's not part of what your goals are. But if you're looking to create force, maximum force from the ground up, I don't know of a more effective way to do that with a kettlebell than with a snatch. You're not going to create the same amount of force with a push press or a jerk because you are using fewer muscles. You're still using your glutes. You have to. But if you look at the proportion, if you look at moment arms that you're creating, you're going to be able to generate a lot more force with a snatch than you will be with a push press or jerk. Even though maybe you can use more weight, getting that overhead, it really is about where the weight starts. There's a big difference between a weight starting here and going there versus a weight starting here and coming all the way overhead.
Big difference.
So to really just grab a kettlebell and rip it straight up your body, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on there. So it really is hard to replicate that, and I can't think of another way to do that. But if you don't need that, then don't get caught up in this idea that I have to do this or I have to do that. If you're looking at hypertrophy goals, there are other options. If you're looking at conditioning goals, there are other options. So unless you really need to really maximize power production in a particular way of a particular type, don't do it.
Yeah. Long story short, don't be miserable when you train. You should really do things you like,
Yeah.
because then you're bound to do them longer, and thus you get the results. And
you still got to mix it up. You don't want to just do one thing, but there are other options here.
Yeah.
So use the other options you prefer.
Yeah, and even then, that's a good point for you to say, like, if you're questioning why you should do something, maybe you're not doing it right. Maybe you could get some assistance, and that's another option as well. You can call the 1-800 number down below if you want to hire us for some a snatch assistance. It's an 800 number, Roger, so be clear. All right. Anyways, all right, so that's pretty much it on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to know something? You know what to do. Put it in the comments. There's not really going to be an 800 number there, so I mean, I guess I could put one. 555 Klondike, right? That was a Simpsons callback right there.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what like the number was, 555. Oh, 555 Klondike. I don't know. It's just because it doesn't exist anywhere. Nobody has that phone number. But not a bad license plate. Anyways, we're meandering on. Hey, leave a comment. Find out. We want to help you with what you know.
It's too many spaces. You only get 7.
No, you get 10, don't you? Area
It was
code
7.
2?
You said license plate.
Oh yeah, license plate. Yeah, but we have to do some like we'll cut it down. It's like abbreviations, you know.
We're still shooting a video.
All right, you made it. Thanks. Hey, there's tons of more good videos about random stuff and facts from musical trivia anywhere on the internet. So for kettlebell training, come to us. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Stay strong.